everybody, and welcome to The Crunch. I'm Rebecca Wettemann, and this is Patrick. We're your hosts today for a lively discussion about the future of AI performance and talent. Well, it's been a busy couple of weeks, right, P? Yeah, I got a new bandana at Dreamforce. Well, I don't think you got it at Dreamforce. Oh, they gave it to you to give to me at Dreamforce. That's right. Thank you, Salesforce, for the bandana. Between Cloud World, Dreamforce, HR Tech, Varen Engage, and all the other events the past month, it's been a really, really busy September. And one of the things that we've seen is certainly some shifts in the way we're thinking about AI, right, Pete? Yeah, that's right. Certainly, we've seen the fear of missing out, FOMO, go to FOMU, as people start to worry about messing up, looking at how do we put not just the tech in place, but the processes and the people and the culture stuff to really make the most of the promise of AI. We've got a lot to talk about today, coming on the heels of HR Tech, where we had a lot of discussions about skills, talent, AI, and how we should think about performance moving forward. I'm delighted to have our guest with us today, Sarah Franklin, CEO of Lattice. Sarah, welcome.
Hi, thank you for having me. I love having Patrick here with us too as a co-host.
He adds a little levity, to the situation. Sarah, thank you so much for joining today. Obviously, super successful former CMO at Salesforce, responsible for so much groundbreaking work there in terms of talent and talent development when you were working on the trailhead efforts there, never mind the marketing efforts. But now you're at Lattice, which is a very different company. So maybe you can talk a little bit for the uninitiated what Lattice does and what attracted you to the space.
Yeah, exactly. And yes, very proud of the work at Salesforce and with Trailhead. And it really led me to Lattice because I've had this passion for helping people perform well at their jobs, manage their careers, and really give managers tools to effectively communicate, understand, their employees. And so Lattice is a people platform that helps manage people and their performance. And we have, almost 6,000 customers worldwide, been around for about 9 years, and, a fast growing company in a field that is, more important and resonant than ever in how you help people do great work.
Sure. And what's the biggest change been for you in moving from the CMO role to a CEO role?
Yeah. So, there's a lot when you take on the CEO role, because you're not just orchestrating one piece of the business, you're looking holistically across the whole thing, strategically and tactically, interacting with your customers, your employees, all shareholders, the community. It's a much wider span of control, and it's been a really fun thing to do because you're really looking at the business in entirety and how do you grow and build the business, not just grow in one part of the function. So it's been a lot of learning, and it's been a lot of fun.
Yeah, I'm sure. It's a big shift. It's a big change from thinking about one part of the puzzle to all of them in a holistic way. But you've also really shifted markets. Valwar has covered the CRM space and the HCM space for a long time, and certainly there are crossovers whenever we're talking about people apps. But those audiences are really very, very different. How have you thought differently, or how have you brought some of the sort of CRM learnings to the other side of people apps?
Yeah, it's really a great question because it's a shift that I didn't fully understand on, if I'm being honest, like when I made the decision to take on this role, as I spent 15 years at Salesforce and my entire career in integrating customer data, to see how different it is from a customer lens to an employee lens. And I'd say the parallels and what I find exciting are that you see the opportunity of what can happen when you put a customer at the center of everything you do. You have a single source of truth about your customer, and you connect with them in whole new ways. And you spend a lot of energy on how you innovate and really personalize every engagement at scale, make every moment matter, right? And when you come to the employee world, I was like, whoa, the tech industry has not really been building these great tools yet for you to be able to do that as a leader, as a manager. And the this is so ripe for opportunity to basically do what Salesforce and CRM did for customer to employee, where you have a data model with all of the business processes, permissioning, customization, um, channels, everything there to, again, for employees, make those moments matter. And so there's a lot of parallels. And I think that the employee engagement and employee kind of 360 is a huge opportunity to do what Salesforce and others did for customer.
Hmm. Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, I've always sort of seen the HR tech phase as being sort of 24 to 36 months behind where the CRM was. CRM went cloud first. They went embedded analytics first. But it seems to me almost like with the AI space, HR has always been much more serious about being a steward of data than necessarily CRM is. So it seems like we're almost on the cusp of what could be an interesting change here for those HRIS folks who are very much focused on understanding the data models, and the stewardship of that data, really leveraging some advantage here.
Yeah, it's you really hit the nail on the head, and why I'm very excited about this opportunity, especially right now, because AI is something which is square in the peg for HR leaders as a real moment to shine, because there's a few aspects to it. One, you have to really be the stewards of how we're going to responsibly bring AI into the enterprise. You're setting the policies. You're sitting at the seat with your CEO, deciding what your workforce plan is going to be, what skills people need, how you skill people into this new world. So there's a huge amount of just operational and policy pieces that HR leaders are bringing in, combined with all of the data that you mentioned, like being the steward of the employee data, but also being the person that's going to advocate for how you can use this data to really make employees more effective, more productive, and more happy. So the work is meaningful. And what's particularly interesting, in my opinion, about data for AI in the HR space is that at a company, you own your employees' data, and you already have consent, and you have it compliant, and you have it correct. And in the customer world, the data can be more fuzzy, and you have to proactively manage consent, and customers have the right to have you forget all their information, et cetera. But with employees, as an employer, you have so much context about your employees, and so therefore you can really derive great insights and great AI to power an incredible experience. And at Lattice, that's what we're doing, to really use AI to build a people-powered future where people are more successful than ever, and they really feel that their work is meaningful, which is something I think it's something we're all striving for these days, where engagement scores are down and people are, fearful of what AI is going to do for their jobs, and people are anxious about the economy. And so how do we really use technology to help us make that work meaningful, make it and make everyone's careers feel managed, and not like they're just shouting into the void of giving feedback without having their managers or leaders understand what their needs are.
Mm. Yeah, it's interesting because you talked a little bit about a people first approach, and I know you've been talking a lot about that, but that seems to sometimes go at odds with what we're saying around AI. A year ago we were talking about 40% of work being replaced by AI, and I think people were genuinely fearful, and certainly in the HR space where I'm thinking about budgeting for headcount and that kind of thing. It's a real issue, and I think it's probably some difficult conversations that you're probably having with customers right now about how do I think about how I manage performance and talent when AI and potentially agentic AI is out there.
Yeah, so there's a lot of there's two things really that you see as it pertains to AI. There's a lot of fear, which you just touched on. There's a lot of people fearful of what this means for my job, for my children's jobs, for future jobs.
Mhm.
And then there's a big lack of education for what AI really is, what it's possible of doing. And you mentioned agentic AI, and so a fear of job loss combined with the fear or the lack of education of, is it safe? Is these two things are, they're very difficult to deal with at once.
Right.
And the way that we look at this is that we need to do what we can to build our way towards, as much as we can, a more utopian outcome than dystopian with huge job loss. And so um, you think of the first calculators, which were actually people, and we think of calculators as these machines, but the first calculators were people, and they were really good at math. And then when machine calculators come around, um, they help the people calculators be better at math, faster at math, able to take on more strategic problems because they have something that can do the raw compute for them.
Mhm.
And so with agentic AI, we have to still strive to find this way where we can understand what it is doing, know how it's performing, and have it work together with us and automate things that maybe can help make us more productive or more strategic. But we need to be very mindful of what we're doing, because we do believe in how we need guardrails so that we can have a truly people powered future where AI is helping us, not creating a dystopian outcome, because that is something we all need to be, on the lookout for.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think what we've heard most recently is the FOMO replacing FOMO, the fear of messing up is something that people are really thinking about, not just in terms of guardrails, but in terms of how do I sort of put the people and processes in place to make sure that I'm managing this stuff. And if I am turning on automated agents, how am I managing them? I know I was at Barrett's Engage conference last week. The weeks sort of blur together, and Dan Bodner was talking about how we're going to have agents to manage
The
these
agents.
agents and review them. And I wonder, and it's something that we've talked about in the HR space in a little bit, but do we need a parallel kind of performance management application for the bots themselves? And when do we start thinking about that?
Yeah, I mean, well, that we did think about this, it's maybe half year ago now, where we saw what was coming with agentic AI. At that time called digital workers. It's taken on several names, but we see and we saw in advance, what was going to happen. And again, people were like, no, 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 you're trying to say that an AI is human if you give it a performance review, if you say that it's an employee in an org chart that has a manager that is a person. And it really caused a huge emotional reaction. uh People thought, this is crazy, this is insane, AI is just a set of if then else rules
Mhm.
that live in a decision tree, that with 100% certainty what it is going to do, when in fact it has evolved to be much more than that. As you mentioned, Rebecca, it can talk to your customers, it can talk to your employees. How do you know that it's not upsetting them? How do you know that it's making them happy? How do you set their performance goals so that they're very clear on what it should be doing
And
when
what we shouldn't be doing.
and what it shouldn't be doing, right?
Yeah.
And especially when, as an HR leader, and again, this is why I think this is so important and a big moment for HR, is because the conversations that are happening, maybe not in public relations, but in closed boardroom doors, is, what is our headcount plan? What are we going to invest in? Are we going to invest in headcount dollars? Or are we going to invest in technology dollars? And when we're making these trade-offs, we really need to be vigilant and hold ourselves accountable and be transparent, because we may trade headcount dollars for technology investments, and it may not be as effective, or it may not be the right decision. And so we need to be, in my opinion, accountable and transparent in that process.
Yeah, we have to have a view on both. And I thought your comments, earlier this year were pretty prescient and kind of highlighted those difficult conversations that we need to be having. They're not fun conversations to have. They're not easy conversations to have when we're talking about headcounts and career planning and performance and talent and underperformers and what we do. But they're conversations that are just as important as the what technology are we using, what technology do we invest in, what technology projects do we prioritize. We have to think about what the human factors are and have some conversations about, for those folks who may have part of their jobs automated, what that means for making them more productive, more effective, and still on a path to greater performance.
Yeah, it's very important. And I looked to cautionary tales that we all know and experience every day. One's with, our mobile phones, and the others with social media. And at the inception of those technologies, they were the great democratizer or the great mobilizer. And those things are true, Arab Spring, and a lot of, voice were given to people that were, prior didn't have it or information. But we didn't understand then that we would be suffering from, addiction to our cell phones and anxiety that comes and bullying that comes from social media. I mean, you think about it. I actually don't know the amount of time from invention to creation of things like screen time, but you think of that period of time was way too long to be able to understand, oh, I should really measure how much, screen time I'm taking in because it's unhealthy for me. And so right now for AI at the inception, this is why we need guardrails. If we look at these cautionary tales, we don't want to have a dystopian outcome where all of a sudden jobs are taken over and we don't have control over what the AI is or is not doing. And how we do that, this is again why I think HR is such an important seat at this table, and why HR tech companies, how we can evolve to not just build our own agents. Like you see companies having their agents for sales and for customer service and for marketing. How HR, next week at Lattice, Lattice will be GAing our HRIS and our AI assistants and all of these things. And so we have that, but then how do we as an industry responsibly and transparently manage these agents? It's a big question. We took a swing at it and we got a lot of reactions. We pressed pause, but it doesn't mean that we don't believe in the responsible use of AI, and we're just seeing how things go.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think it's the basis for a lot of important conversations we need to be having. And you stole my next question, which was about the new HRIS. Tell us about sort of Lattice's approach to that, why it's important right now, why it's different.
Yeah, so we've been building this for the past year plus, and we Lattice started as a full talent suite. It's the best in breeds, the best talent performance management solution out there. And one of the reasons why is because employees love to use it, meaning employees will enter feedback, they will enter information. We have great integrations to systems of work. So if you're doing work in Jira, if you're doing work in Salesforce, we can bring that in. So we have the full context, that complete view of an employee, and it's rich with data because our customers' employees love to use it. And when we looked at that and looked at how now companies are saying, this is great, but we want to have, an all-in solution, and we want a platform that can integrate all of, these aspects together in one solution. We built the HRIS for that. So it starts with the talent as, the differentiation, with AI as our foundation and our data that we have about all of the employees. And it has all the workflows, approvals, notifications, everything you need for a modern HR system, and tying together all these pieces from, your onboarding to your compensation, to your payroll, to your performance management, to your succession planning, to your career managing, to your learning and skilling, like all of that. is in one platform. So especially for mid-market companies that are looking for a great solution that's easy to use for their employees, Lattice is the best out there for you.
It's interesting because I think we've seen that pendulum sort of swing back and forth between best of breed and suite. And it's like every time it goes back and forth, the length of the swing gets shorter.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's like, customers out there, they want to have, it's interesting because you're not going to have one software vendor for your whole company, right? There's a reason why you have buckets of software, because you need a company that's going to build that really brings the best practices into the software for you. Like Lattice is not going to build a CRM because we don't have, I have a lot of knowledge of CRM, but our bread and butter as a company is around employee focus.
Mm-hmm.
And so we're building all of these things for employees and really addressing this huge need in the market where, at the top end of the enterprise, there's large vendors that are very feature rich, but very expensive to implement and very complicated to maintain and to integrate with. And customers want an easier, more affordable, faster solution that's one that their employees love, and that they just are saying, okay, Lattice, like, help us here, because we want our employees to love it, and we want to manage our people, because performance culture is more. It's very interesting how the timing right now is one where, high performance cultures, every CEO is looking to build this. And the last few decades, growth has been a lot easier. It's like, just hire salespeople, we'll get more revenue.
Right.
And now you actually have to really manage the business. You have to really manage people's careers, and career planning and mapping needs to be built in, process and performance and feedback. And so this is it's an incredible moment for Lattice and for us to meet it for our customers, because these processes need to be put in place, and Lattice makes it easy.
So both as a CEO and as an HR tech professional now, what's your take on the high performance culture return to work message that we're hearing from folks like AWS today that are saying employees need to be back in the office? And how do you see Lattice kind of helping with that?
Yeah, so I have what is now maybe a not the popular or not the most not that articulate on the perfect word, but my point of view is that as a CEO, I'm going to spend time looking at dashboards and information of how my team and company are doing, instead of badge-ins to the office. I want to see that people are performing well, that we're out at our customers, that we're in person with our customers. I want to see that our teams are innovating. I want to see that we're, managing our operations efficiently. And I trust, my employees as adults, and we have a hybrid work, culture at Lattice, for, working in the best way that works for them. And we have, processes around that. But Lattice, what we do, which I think is the most important thing, is we help companies manage their people and their performance. And that is exactly what a performance culture is. Where you are at is less important, in my opinion. But every company is able to choose what they want to do with their employees. But for Lattice, it's about having very clear goals. It's about having very clear feedback mechanisms and loops. It's about having very easy ways to do calibrations that can remove biases from the system. It's around compensation in a way that you can incentivize people fairly, but also in ways that match what their goals and personalities and motivations are. And so we are the tool that does the performance piece. All of the performance management is in Lattice. And that is the most important thing, because whether somebody's at home, whether they're visiting a customer, or whether they're in the office, you need to be able to manage their performance. And that is what Lattice helps you do.
Well, that's a great way to kind of wrap up the business part of the conversation. We just have a few minutes left, so it's crunch time.
Oh,
So, Sarah, who is your favorite fictional hero?
ooh, fictional hero, Wonder Woman.
Wonder Woman.
Yeah, I got the. I don't have the Bengals today, but yes.
What's your favorite word?
Courage,
What's your least favorite word?
fear,
What's your favorite flower?
hydrangea.
Why hydrangea?
Because they're big and bold and beautiful, but also very delicate and intricate at the same time.
Okay. And finally, this is Patrick's favorite question. If you could come back as any person or thing, who or what would you be?
I would love to experience the first walk on the moon, or the first voyager across the ocean. So an explorer, adventurer, that would be who I would come back as.
Excellent.
Or I would love to go into the future and be the first person to walk on Mars. That would be incredible.
Wow. Interesting. Okay. Okay, we have time for one more question. Your ideal happiness.
My ideal happiness?
Yeah.
Like what am I doing in that moment?
Yeah.
I love the feel of being outdoors and running or hiking, or just that's, with a perfect weather, 70, 75, sunny, in the outside, just walk.
Nature.
Yeah, nature.
Excellent. Well, Sarah, thank you so much for joining us today. It's been
Thank
great
you.
to have you, and I appreciate you taking the time, and I hope you guys have a fantastic conference next week, and look forward to hearing more from you on the future of talent, performance, AI, and how Lattice is going to lead in that space.
For sure. Thank you. Bye, everyone.
Bye.